My name's Travis Brown. I'm from Horror Movies Uncut, website based out of St. Louis. We've been covering the Austin Film Festival, and we've been talking about some of the films that we want to keep on the radar of people that are going to be attending the festival and looking for films coming out of the festival. And we may have just seen one of the scariest features in the last few months, and that's speaking volumes since we just finished covering about 6 different film festivals, including another festival down in Austin. So I am joined by JC Doler and the cast behind The Fetch. And The Fetch is what I like to call a nice little folklorish styled, modernized supernatural thriller that I think is going to scare the shit out of a lot of people. So, first and foremost, JC, I'm curious the story of The Fetch. Where did you get it from? Were you a fan of like the Irish changeling stories growing up or anything like that? Or was this something that was like placed on your lap?
So the original story was based off a 2016 short film we did called Hangman. Originally, that short film was just about a guy and his doppelganger. And as we were developing the feature based off of that short, we were introduced to the concept of a fetch by a producer from Australia named Robbie Miles, and he said, "Have you ever heard of a fetch?" And we were like, "No, this is cool." And we did our research, and unfortunately, there's not much history about the actual fetch story. So that gave us a lot of room to expand from there.
That's awesome. And then what was one of the first things you wanted to make sure you kind of took from the short, but then, be able to really relay it into the feature and then expand upon? Was there one particular thing from the short, or was this like, hey, let's really crack this open in a different way?
Yeah, the biggest thing was the mental health aspect. In the short, we really focus on Nicholas's mental health and how he's
Mhm.
struggling with being alone and isolated, and that was sort of the linchpin and the main thing we carried over from the short to the feature was focusing on his mental health journey and making it something that was realistic and relatable, but also scary.
Awesome. Awesome. And then Nicholas, jumping right into your character, like the biggest thing that I wanted to know about, like, so Logan, Nicholas's character, first and foremost, how much community college art classes did you have to attend before you started doing this role? And then secondly, do you actually have like an artist background? Because you actually seemed very natural around those types of elements in the film.
Yeah, good question. I was a child painter.
Okay.
No, I mean, I've
Paint
always
by numbers like the rest of us.
no, I mean, I've always been an artist, in kind of a lot of different directions. I do love painting. I'm a photographer as well. The art of being an actor, writing. I kind of like dabbling in all things.
Mhm.
In the film, the times where you see me painting, that's when I'm painting.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, that was our amazing art department, Reese Rourke and his wife, and so they did a great job. I mean, especially Reese. When you see, well, I don't want to give any
Yeah,
spoilers,
don't spoil
but
it.
For sure. Yeah. No
he,
spoilers.
he he did some prolific painting in this
Yeah.
in this film. So yeah, yeah.
Okay. And then the only other thing that I would like to ask you is just how difficult is it to deal with something like loss and then be able to show that on screen and really provide the emotions that you want to deliver with Nicholas's character?
Yeah, it was a challenging experience as an actor. It was a terrifying one, to be honest. But I was able to, sit with the material for a long time. I first came onto the project in 2018, and ever since I had first read the script, it kept working in my brain. It kept just being present. And as the years went by and we collaborated on the script more and more, and I just kind of peeled each layer of the onion on Nicholas, I became a little bit more comfortable with it. I gained a little bit more understanding. I've always been such a student of psychology and what it is to be a human, just in my own experience. And in terms of the grief and the loss that Nicholas experiences, I haven't experienced something to that level
Mhm.
But I do believe like grief is something we all deal with, you know.
Mhm.
I really kind of, for myself, you know, anchored myself into loss that's out of my control, you know. And you know, I'm somebody who really loves life, and you know, I really value my experience, and just really getting myself in the mindset of losing something that I love more than anything and not having any say in that process is, you know, it's really terrifying. You know, I've grieved, you know, plenty of things at different levels, and so that was really, you know, that's my doorway into it. And then the writing on the page is really what takes me to the finish line. It's such great writing, the great
Yep.
relationships, the people around me, the other actors, the, you know, JC, our director, all the producers, everyone on set was so focused in, so bought in, so passionate about this that it
Mhm.
created an environment where I really felt safe and comfortable to just let it rip.
Alessa, your character also goes through a lot of trials and tribulations throughout the course of the feature. And of course, you're going to be dealing with some things that any person would, dealing with grief as well. What were some of the things that come from your own background that you wanted to make sure you wanted to implement into your character in The Fetch to make sure that people can see the emotion and empathy that she was going through throughout the whole course of the film until, of course, the terror comes?
Yeah, well, I like when things are complicated, you know, and that she wasn't just there to help Nicholas through his experience. She's going through her own experience as well. And with that comes just a lot of feelings. I think that there's a lot of, you know, anger, a lot of um just all these colors, right? When you're dealing with your own tragedy, and then on top of it, you know, the thing that I always like to remind people of is that at the top of this film, like he's about to kill himself and leave her with not only the grief of her child, but the grief then of her husband. And so there's such an abandonment that I feel really divides them in the beginning of this movie. And to just be there to help him get better would be really a false um, emotional standpoint for her. I think she feels incredibly betrayed by both experiences. And I love the idea too. We were talking about this earlier of like, you know, you can think you know someone so well, and then one act can really make you feel like you're strangers again. You know, something really shuts down. Because that's sort of the nature of intimacy, is like it's dependent on feeling like you can predict what this person is going to do next. You know, it's
Mhm.
kind of what
Yep.
trust is in a way. And so I think for her, like everything is turned upside down, because not only did she lose the kid, she kind of lost the person that she thought she was with as well, you know.
Mhm. Yeah.
So yeah,
Lots
I
of
love
layers.
lots of layers, yeah, and
Yeah.
subtle and not spoken necessarily. So they are
Mhm.
things you want to feel underneath whatever is being spoken. Um, so yeah, that's fun.
That's
That's what
great.
acting is fun.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being candid with that. It's a very strong, impactful film for it to be as scary as it is on certain parts. But I think that's one of the things, JC, you probably would agree that makes it the kind of family drama side of it that's involved in the film. Tucker, I'm asking you the last question, man. Before the film, did you know anything about The Fetch? And what's one thing you hope people get after they see the film?
Well, I didn't really know anything about the lore of it yet, but like when I read the script, I was like, wow, this is actually like really cool. So I thought that it was just really cool. But I hope people take away that like people are there for you, like when you're in grief and stuff. So you can go to them for help.
That's awesome, man. That's a great takeaway. Thank you guys so much. Best
Thank
of
you.
luck with everything.
Thank
I
you
hope
so much.
everything went great with the premiere, and we'll be definitely plugging and pushing the word on The Fetch. So thank you
Thank
guys so
you.
much for your time.